Hi, welcome to KiwaniTalk. We're a public information show put together by people from the Dearborn Kiwanis Club, help from students and some of the faculty at Dearborn High School, my alma mater. KiwaniTalk is the longest running cable access television program in the world. I'm happy to be here. My name is Gary Gardner. We're talking about Kiwanis, and with me today to talk about Kiwanis is a fellow Kiwanian. Roger's been around since Moby Dick was a minnow, I think.
Pretty close, yeah.
Roger Frank, welcome to the program.
Yeah, thanks, Gary.
It's good to have you here, Roger. We've been in Kiwanis. We're trying to figure out how long it's been since we signed up. Yeah. How long have you been in Kiwanis?
Well, that's a good question. Actually, I mean, probably since about 86, 87. However, growing up, I grew up in Wyandotte. And my dad belonged to the Kiwanis Club in Wyandotte, and so I went through their scouting program and Eagle Scout with the Kiwanis Club, and then in high school I was a charter member of the Key Club, which is a youth leadership development program centered around Kiwanis and community service. I got involved as a charter member of that in Wyandotte and Roosevelt High School, and then I got into my working career probably about 86, 87. So it's been a real.
What kind of work did you do when you were
Well,
working?
I started out in college. I thought I wanted to go into law, and I started taking these pre-law classes. And oh my
trust
God,
me, it probably wasn't worth doing.
Was that ever boring? I mean, yeah. I couldn't see myself doing this.
Yeah.
I got interested in gerontology, so I graduated from Eastern with a degree in business, and then I went on to the University of Michigan. To the Institute of Gerontology and got a certificate for that program. I got into the nursing home business, and I was an administrator in nursing homes for about 15 years. And at the end, I'd reached a pinnacle in that career, and I was a little burned out. And during that period, I started buying real estate investment properties, apartments and houses, and that was a lot of fun. So I thought, well, I wonder if I could make a living doing that. And so I switched careers, and I did that. So it's been about 36, 37, maybe 38 years that I've been involved in buying and selling real estate.
And the real estate market has its ups and has its downs.
It's had its ups and its downs, and I've ridden all of them.
But the thing for a realtor, my middle daughter's a realtor. She worked for Kerner and Leberski over on Ford Road in Dearborn. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So Kelly has been in it in a particularly bountiful time for realtors because if she can get a listing, it's
sold, right?
It's sold right away.
Right. Yeah.
And I was just driving to work the other day, and I was driving from my house near Auto Drive in Cherry Hill in Dearborn to further west, about a mile and a half. And I was looking around, and I noticed that unlike in 2007, 8, and 9, where there were multiple for sale signs in each block along Cherry Hill, and look up north and south on the side streets, there's multiple for sale signs. I saw one for sale sign all the way from my house all the way to my office in about 2.5 miles.
That is probably sold. I just didn't put a sold sticker on it.
Probably for sale. So that the thing for realtors though is that in markets when the houses are being sold, the realtors were there making some money when they're being bought now. But it's what's happened to the market? Let's talk about that for a second.
Yeah, well, it's been a tough market. It's great if you have a listing from a realtor standpoint, but if you're trying to find a home for somebody, it's very difficult. Probably with the interest rates rising and mortgage rates rising, that'll probably slow things down a little bit, but I'm not sure how much it'll be because there's a tremendous amount of pent-up demand, and there's a lot of money out there to buy. So
people always need a place to live.
People always need a place to live. Yeah, that's why I always invested in residential properties rather than commercial properties, because if somebody moves out, boom, 30 days later you have a new person in, new paint job and carpet maybe, but commercial property you can sit for years with an empty building.
Well, look at what's happened too with the COVID change in the dynamic, where people are doing more and more remote work, and these huge office buildings are going to look. It's going to be it'll be just an adjustment, I think, to the economy. At some point, though, you reprised your role with Kiwanis from the Key Club at Wyandotte High School. Mm-hmm. You got back into Kiwanis. How did you get back into Kiwanis?
Well, my boss, Bob Curran, said, Roger, you need to belong to Kiwanis Club.
So
Yeah.
was that a request, or because he
well,
was your boss, it was
no,
you
it
better
was,
belong to Kiwanis?
No, I've always been involved in community service, and it, as a community, the quality of a community is directly related to the volunteer efforts and on the members of the community, the residents. And I'm involved I'm in this community. I live in Dearborn. We lived in Dearborn. We got married almost 50 years ago, and okay, so I take out, I need to put back in. This is the way I can put back in.
So you and I throw around the name Kiwanis, like
Right.
people understand it, but
Yeah.
it's a strange looking, is that a New Zealand club for the Kiwi part of it, or what is Kiwanis and what's the idea behind it?
Well, it's a community-based service organization. It's international. You can go to just about any country in the world probably and find a Kiwanis club. We meet, the clubs oftentimes they meet once a week, sometimes maybe even less frequent. Usually they have a variety of service projects in the area that they'll participate in. Sometimes they're in the area, sometimes they're out of the area. Now our club at the Dearborn Club, we have a number of, a whole slew of different projects. The symphony, different organizations. We we sponsor 6 high school key clubs. That's a youth development program in the high schools. Another big project we have is the Penrickin Center, which is based in, I think it's in Taylor, and they take in the handicapped kids and train these kids, and it's all private pay, all private donations. And I might be a little off on that. One of our members is much more.
One of our members, Skip Armstrong, is on the board at Penrickin, and if there is a promoter for a charity that is a great charity, Penrickin Center is great, but our Kiwanis Club, we raise money, and we in addition to this being the longest running cable access show in the world, our club has another distinction of worldwide renown for our peanut sales.
That's right. Yeah.
We've been the #1 peanut selling club in the world for many, many years, except for 1 year after a hurricane in Florida. Our club makes all of its money from
selling peanuts.
Yeah, and it's more than more than just peanuts. But so people see us on the street once a year in the fall. We are out there selling peanuts, but we also sell. We have our what we call corporate sales, where we sell to businesses and we make a significant amount of our money. But we bring in the money from our peanut sales, and as you were saying, they go out to different charities, to the Penrickin Center, to different organizations that, the Salvation Army. We also help the Salvation Army. How do we help them?
Well, it's Christmas time. We're out there in front of half a dozen locations ringing those bells. And we raise a lot of money that way for the Salvation Army. In addition to, we collect private donations from our members, and we have as a line item budget in our budget of donation to the Salvation Army. So,
and one of the things that I got involved with and I never knew was the Goodfellows newspaper sale. I always thought that in order to be a newspaper seller at the streets, you had to have worked for a newspaper, be a newspaper delivery boy or things like that. And Bob Curran, by the way, who also introduced me and brought me into Kiwanis about 29 years ago. I came in and they says, okay, Gare, we're going to go out on the street. So I said, I can't, Bob, because I was never a newspaper boy. Well, you don't have to be a newspaper boy to help sell Goodfellow newspapers. Anybody's out there, they strap you on with a bag, Goodfellows bag, a safety vest, papers, go out and collect money for the Goodfellows. And that was when I used to like being up at the corner of Michigan Avenue and Outer Drive and the center turn lane there.
That's a great location. Yeah,
it's all good.
Yeah.
But again, so it's community service, and one of the things that we do is when we sell our peanuts. This is our club's principal fundraiser. The money we generate for Goodfellows goes not through us, goes directly back to Goodfellows. Right. The money for the Salvation Army for ringing the bells goes into the kettles, and the Salvation Army deals with it. And Salvation Army has a very high percentage of the money that they raise goes out for the good deeds, as opposed to other organizations, which we shall not name, who have a very high overhead and a very low return of their funds from the charitable donations to the actual needy. But our peanut sales, we take no administrative costs out of it.
Right.
We don't charge for our time in organizing, for storing. The only cost that we pass on is the direct cost of the peanuts that we have to buy.
That's right.
And it all goes through, and again, that makes us, as all Kiwanians, try to minimize the cost of their overhead for the projects, but our money goes out and we raise a fair amount of money every year.
Yeah, another project that we do is the Turtle Derby at Homecoming. Now, we haven't done this the last couple of years because of the pandemic, and there hasn't been a Dearborn Homecoming. But it's a raffle where we sell a ticket for it has a number on it, corresponds to the number on a little plastic turtle. Then on race day, we dump 1,500 turtles into the river down here at the park, and first one out of the chute has got, usually in the past years, that's been the winner of $1,000. That money was donated by Village Ford, a local Ford dealership here. And there's usually about 50 other worthwhile prizes that follow with that. But that's a lot of fun. And there again, all the our prizes are all donated, and all the money goes right back into the community service. Our fundraising efforts are not used for club expenses like dinners and all that stuff, but it goes right back into the community.
And you've referenced now twice the dinners, and our club meets once a week,
right?
Generally, except for the holiday season when we, but at Park Place, which is a tremendous facility. It's in Dearborn, on Outer Drive, just south of Michigan Avenue, right on, strangely enough, Park Street.
Park Street, yeah, what a coincidence.
And Gary Coleman, the former owner, that does a great job. The new owner, Greg Ivan, does a great job over there. Talk about what happens at a Dearborn Kiwanis Club meeting on our weeknight meetings.
Well, we start out. Meeting starts formally promptly at 6:15. We have a few announcements. Whatever people want to talk about. Then we'll adjourn for dinner. We'll have a dinner. It's a nice buffet dinner, and then generally we have a speaker on about 7 o'clock. It speaks from 7 to 7:30, and usually we end about 7:30, no later than 7:45, and so we're out of there. And,
one of the interesting things, since it is an establishment, there are adult beverages if you choose to imbibe.
We have adult beverages. Yeah, that's right. That's prior to the meeting. So the social time starts about 5:30.
So, but it is a chance to get together and meet with friends, and not acquaintances, with friends from the club, and to do all that. And so, then there is a board that decides what to do with the money. People who have requests for charitable giving to their organizations, and they present letters and petitions to the board, and the board does well with them.
That's right. Yeah.
Decides to pass out the money or not.
That's right. Yeah.
And if you've got a good cause and you've got some good reasons for it, we'll try to help out if it's a community based. We try to spend a lot of it, the money raised in Dearborn, a lot of it's here, but we do go beyond Dearborn borders too.
That's right. I mean, this last, I guess we'll talk about this a little bit later. We just donated $2,500 to our Key Club, Key group that went into Jordan to work in a refugee camp over spring break.
And that's an interesting thing when that's going to segue right into the Dearborn Kiwanis Club sponsored Key Clubs.
Okay.
But first we're going to have some messages from Kiwanis about our club and other things. Don't go away. We're here with Roger Frank, I won't say ancient Kiwanian, but as we have the gray years to show our knowledge and wisdom.
Yeah.
We'll talk about Kiwanis Club, talk about Dearborn sponsored Key Clubs. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
It's easy to get caught up in the details. The day-to-day grind, numb to the noise, going round and round and round. Deep down, there's something missing, a void inside, a hole to fill, a life lacking. Then, in a minute of clarity, it hits you. The aha moment. You're needed. Kids need you. kids of all kinds. All these funny, rambunctious, sweet, attention-seeking, vulnerable bundles of energy. They need your love and support. Some have huge life hurdles. Poverty, disease, hunger. And they're reaching out for you. Around the corner, around the world. You are a Kiwanian at heart, a role model, a guide, a builder of dreams. Together, we are Kiwanis, passionate and strong, ready to move mountains or grains of sand. Imagine every child reaching their potential. The power to help is in you. It's not about us. It's about them. Do you hear the call? Kids need Kiwanis. Kiwanis needs you.
Welcome back to KiwaniTalk. I'm your host, Gary Gardner, with this episode talking about many things Kiwanis, with Roger Frank, a member of the club for many years, as have been I. Now we're going to focus on the Dearborn Kiwanis Club sponsored Key Clubs. And Roger, you talked about the Key Clubs at the beginning. Those are clubs that we sponsor in sundry high schools around the area. And which is the one that's your particular sponsored club?
We sponsor our club. Our Kiwanis Club sponsors 6 Key Clubs, 6 high schools, and these are leadership development training programs at the high school level centered around service. We have a club that sponsor. It's Belvedere, Annapolis, Crestwood, Dearborn High, Edsel, and Fortson. Now I've always been associated with the one at Fortson. Rosa Scaramucci and I. One of our members and a former teacher at Fortson. We started that probably about 25 years ago. Now, one of the, and these are award-winning clubs. Now, the Fortson Club, just recently, we had 3 Key Club members and an advisor went to Jordan to work in a refugee camp, and they raised a little over $10,000. $2,500 of it was from our Kiwanis Club, but the rest was from other sources. And with that money, so
these are 3 high school students and an advisor.
And the advisor
on their own time during the spring break, not going to Florida or hanging out at the.
No. And actually, they paid their own way, but the money they raised, they provided for materials and things to do once they got there.
Okay, to help people out on that.
Help people out.
They went to Jordan, which is it's a country that has some needs, and there are refugees from the area.
Yeah, from all over the Middle East, I guess.
Okay.
But they had they fed 250 families were fed for a month with food boxes. They had 5 life-threatening surgeries could be carried on with that money. 42 widows were fed and 2 months' rents paid. 26 handicapped kids and adults were fed for a few months. 3 students' university tuitions were paid. 15 new soccer balls and basketballs for orphans were given for orphans in the camps. There were 100 orphans that had a carnival, a dinner, toy of their choosing, and new clothes. And they had ice cream and candy for 50 kids in the camp. This is all in a week.
All in a week, and a lot of activity. And so, and you mentioned at the beginning when you're talking about it's our leadership development organizations.
Leadership,
And to take the time to go over to Jordan and to do that it's phenomenal, and it's a great thing. But the organization and the leadership skills that the high school kids learn, talk about how they organize and the hierarchy of their clubs and what those clubs do.
Oh, that's good. Great. I'm just chomping at the bit to get on that.
Go for it.
The clubs they're run by the students. They have officers. They have elections. As a matter of fact, we had elections just before I came here. I came here right from the Key Club election. And they organize the students. They organize their own activities. Now the club has a faculty advisor, usually one of the teachers, and they have a Kiwanis advisor. I'm the Kiwanis advisor. My main responsibility is to sit there and try and stay awake, and don't get in the way.
Right.
These kids have a lot of enthusiasm, a lot of drive. Now on the statewide level, then we have a state district called a district board with a student head, we call it a governor for the state, and they have various offices, treasurer, secretary, bulletin editors, and all that. And these are all students, and it's all student-led and run. So,
how many students at Fordson, in the club that you're intimately involved with, how many students are there involved with Kiwanis Key Club?
This year, I think we had 50. I think at Dearborn High, we had like 150, Edsel about 40, I think. The numbers were down considerably because of the pandemic.
Because they were sitting at home watching things on their screens, which is hard to get.
Yeah, it's hard to do, and it's hard to get things rolling back, get back up again. But in past years, like at Fordson, we've had as many as 150. I think here at Dearborn High, they had 450.
And so, what do the students participating in Key Club activities? What do they do besides have meetings? Yeah.
Well, we've in past years we have reading programs in at the lower levels, usually in elementary schools. Kids will go out and read to kids. We've raised money for UNICEF. We've worked with Gleaners Community Food Bank, gone down once a month, packaged food packages for their clients. In the past years, we've gone to World Medical Relief and sorted out medical products that were donated and to be shipped to someplace. And we've had people go out and do raking leaves, shoveling walks, and just there's a plethora of
all the things that keep kids actively involved in their community.
That's right.
Keep them off the streets with a direction and a focus too.
Yeah. And the thing with the Jordan trip, what this did, it took them, beyond that, took them out of the box, out of their environment. A few years ago, we had a bunch of kids that went to Costa Rica on a similar mission trip, and some of these kids had never been out of the state of Michigan, that went, but it was a whole different dimension for them.
Nothing like travel to, not pun intended, broaden your horizons, but it helps out a lot.
Oh yeah.
But again, the leadership possibilities for the leaders of the club and the members, how does that enhance their ability for leadership, their jobs, their college applications, their employment down the road? What does that do for them?
Well, they're running an organization. They're organizing these activities that happen. It's all on the students, and these are real life experiences. It's not something they're going to learn on a textbook or in a lecture or something. But they're actually having to do it, and they find out what works and what doesn't work. And in life, we have failures and successes, and you learn. This is how you learn.
And sometimes the failures are the best life lessons you can have.
Unfortunately so, yeah.
And that's the hardest thing with my kids.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to let them
fail.
Let them fail a little bit to get through that. So you've been involved with the Key Club at Fordson, it sounds, for a substantial time.
Yeah, probably about 25 years,
And what if anything, have you noticed of the change in the students? Are the kids the same, or how are they different these days?
Well, the kids are about the same. It's fun watching these kids coming in as ninth graders into high school and watch them, grow and develop. By the time they become seniors and they're ready to go on, you come as meek, mild, milquetoast, and they, leave, leading the troops. I mean, it's as an advisor, all I see are snapshots, and like a teacher, they'll see them gradually. By just seeing, in pieces. But we've had kids, oh gosh, every year we have kids going to Ivy League schools. Last year we had a kid going to Wharton, study business. We have, usually once a year we have somebody going to Harvard. We have locally, University of Michigan, both Ann Arbor locally, and these are really sharp kids.
And one of the things too that we need to talk about is after Key Club and before the senior Kiwanis, and we are, there's the
Circle K.
Talk about that for a second.
Well, Circle K is a similarly prepared. It's at the college level. I know here there's a chapter at the University of Michigan, Dearborn, in Ann Arbor, and I think there's still one at Wayne State. And these are
we sponsor the one at U of M Dearborn.
U of M Dearborn, that's correct. These are very active groups. I mean, they just had they had organized a fashion show about a month ago, and it filled a banquet hall, and they raised a lot of money. Extremely well done, and did it all on their own.
So we're down to our last about a minute and a half, 2 minutes, Roger. So you and I have been here for Kiwanis. Some of us attend meetings more often than others, and I have to admit I'm not the most reliable attendee at the meetings. But for the people who would not want to be a member of a club that would let them in, which I'm not, Kiwanis is a great organization, and you don't have to go to meetings all the time. There's no mandatory commitment.
Right.
But again, it's a way of giving back to the community to help with that, and have some friends and really feel good about the things that we do. Sell the newspapers, ringing the bells. How would you recommend it to anybody who's thinking about joining Kiwanis?
It's a great organization. When I first got into it, I got into it as a luncheon group, and it was something different. Broke up the day from the rest of the day's activities, and now of course we're an evening group, and it's just a great experience. It's a way of putting back into the community. We're always open to new projects. If somebody comes in and want to try something, it's there. We have funding available, and it's just a matter of working out details.
Well, Roger, I want to thank you for coming on the show, explaining to some of the people out there what this Kiwanis, whatever it's Kiwanis, okay, and it's been around for over 100 years now. Dearborn is one of the oldest clubs in the country, in the world, and we're very happy to be part of it. And I'm very happy to have the long-term association that I've had with the club. And I want to thank you, Roger, for being here tonight, and I thank you for tuning in. See you next time on Kiwanis. Bye-bye.